Hi Yogis, my name is Sara and welcome. Today we're going to go through a class that is gentle, it's for sore muscles, maybe it's first thing waking up in the morning. We're going to stay pretty close to the mat today, so we're just going to take it easy and have some stretches through the hips. We're going to have some stretches through the thighs and also opening up through the shoulders. If you have a block, that may be helpful for class today. If not, a pillow or a folded blanket would also work as well. If you don't have any of those things by you, no worries. I'll be offering modifications as we go today, but as always, especially if you are recovering from a minor injury or if you have really sore muscles, listen to your body today. And definitely just take it easy, and yeah, we're gonna get started today in an easy cross-legged seat, but we're gonna have one of our shins, let's take our left shin, slightly staggered in front of the right to start. And from here, maybe just bring your hands to your knees, sit up tall, shoulders stacked over hips, ears stacked over shoulders. Maybe you close down the eyes, or you can just have a soft gaze out in front of you. Let's take a moment here to just check in with our breath and check in with our body. Notice how you're feeling today. Take a long, deep breath in through the nose. Let it out through the mouth. Again, long, deep inhale through the nose. And let it all go. If you would like to cultivate your breath solely in and out through the nose for practice today, that is an option for you. On your next inhale, maybe blink the eyes open if they were closed. We're going to inhale, both hands up to the sky, and exhale, bring the hands together at heart center. Again, big stretch. Inhale, lift the hands up, and exhale, hands to heart center. Take one brief moment here to just say a little thank you to yourself for taking this time for you today. Now begin to walk your right hand out toward the side. Lift your left hand up to the sky and take a gentle bend over toward the right. Maybe bending into the right elbow. Look up or down, whatever works best for your neck. Come back up to center. We'll move straight to the other side. Start walking your left hands out to the side. Bring your right hand up and over for your side body stretch on the right. Come back up to center and begin to gently walk your hands out in front of you, coming into a fold here. Start to feel a stretch through your hips. You can stay propped up on your fingers, or you can come down to your forearms. and fold over. Notice if you feel the stretch more in one hip versus the other. Come back up, and from here we will come into a pose called seated pigeon. So I'm going to turn for this one so I have a bit more space here. You're going to bend through your right knee and bring your left ankle to the top of your right knee. Now from here your hands can be behind you to prop yourself up, and that right foot can start to walk out for a bit less of a stretch, a more restorative pose, or the further you bring it in closer to your hips, the more intense the stretch will be. Just keep a long straight spine and an active left foot regardless of where your right foot is. I like to rock back and forth side to side a bit. Really nice deep stretch through the left hip and the outside of the left thigh. Great, go ahead and release. We'll come back to our easy seat, but have your other shin in front this time. So right shin staggered in front of the left. Sit up tall. From here we'll move into a twist, left hand to right knee, right hand swims behind you, and look over your right shoulder. Come back to center, let's move straight away to the other side. Right hand to left knee, left hand behind you, and look over your left shoulder. Great, come back to center. We're going to slowly start to walk our hands forward again into our fold. Remember to relax through the jaw. Great. Go ahead and come back up. Let's move into seated pigeon on the other side, bending through the left knee, sole of the left foot on the mat. Bring your right ankle up to the top of your left thigh and begin to find that space that feels good for you, walking your left foot out or bringing it closer in, remaining active through your right foot and straight and tall through the spine. Breathe into your right hip and your right thigh. Go ahead and release. Cross at the ankles to roll over and find ourselves in tabletop pose. Shoulders stacked over wrists, hips stacked over ankles. Push into all 10 fingers. And we'll move into a few rounds of cat-cow from here. So on your inhale, drop your belly, lift your gaze, tuck the tailbone. And exhale, round in, round through the spine. Inhale, lift. And exhale, round. Come back to a neutral spine. Bring your knees out wide and sit your hips back into a wide-legged child's pose. Still reaching energetically forward, bring your forehead down to the mat. Take an inhale here, and exhale. Now begin to walk both hands over to the right edge of the mat. Little side body stretch. Maybe your left hand comes to the top of your right. Let's move to the other side. Begin to walk both hands all the way over to the left side of the mat. Back to center. Begin to come back up into tabletop pose. Make sure your hips are stacked still over your knees and begin to walk your hands out all the way forward, coming down into our puppy dog stretch. Forehead or chin come to the mat. Maybe your arms stay out extended here, or bring your palms together. Bend at the elbows and bring your thumbs to the nape of your neck for a bit more of a tricep stretch in here too. Now release the hands if they were together and begin to walk your hands back in. Come back into tabletop pose. From here, we'll open up through the shoulders a bit more with thread the needle. On your next inhale, lift your right hand up to the sky and exhale, thread it through and under your left. Right ear and shoulder come to the mat. Maybe your left hand stays where it is, or it can start to walk out in front of you. Pushing into that left hand to open up a bit more. Walk your left hand back in. Bring your right hand back to the mat and we'll move to the other side. Left hand lifts this time and thread it through and underneath the right. Left ear and shoulder come to the mat. Maybe start to walk your right hand out in front of you. Start to walk your right hand back in. And from here, just to reset our spine, let's move back into puppy just for a breath. Walk your hands out. Bring your forehead down to the mat. Great. Come back up to tabletop pose. Bring your knees together and start to walk your hands to sit back on your heels. Once you're there, begin to lift up through your chest. Walk your hands back behind you, and as if you're trying to kiss your elbows together, really open up through the chest, through the shoulders. Come back up to seating and lift both hands up to the sky. We'll move into kind of an exalted warrior, but seated here. Bring your right hand back to prop behind you, and your left hand will lift up and overhead. A slight bend through the right elbow. Just a nice little back bend here. Both hands lift. Let's move to the other side. Prop your left hand behind you as you lift your right hand up and overhead. Great. Come back up to seated, and from here we're going to move into a pose called deer pose. So we're going to create two L shapes with our legs. So from seated, bring your left shin parallel to the front edge of the mat, and your right leg will come out to the side, your right thigh about a 90-degree angle out from your hip, and your right shin will also be parallel to the long edge of your mat. So you're creating these two L shapes with your legs. Now, if this 90-degree angle is too much for your hip and you already feel that, you can bring your leg in closer, bring your right knee closer to your left foot to create more of a restorative deer pose. The more parallel it is out from your hip, the more intense this pose will be. Once you have your two L shapes, try to remain active through your left foot. That kind of protects your knees. And you can start to walk your hands back to create a bit more sensation in the hips. Great. Walk your hands back in if you're reclined. And we're going to come into cow face pose from here. So start to bend all the way into your left knee. Bring your right leg up and over to stack on top of your left. So your knees are going to be stacked, one on top of the other. Now, if you have quite a bit of space in between your knees, that's totally normal. You can just put your block or your pillow, blanket, something between your knees for a bit more comfort. Otherwise, once you find your cow face pose, you can bring your hands to the soles of your feet and sit up straight and tall. Maybe stay here if this is enough of a stretch through your hip, or you can begin to walk your hands forward and fold over your knees. Should be a really deep stretch through your hips. And again, just notice if you feel it in one hip more than the other. Relax your jaw. Take one more breath. Awesome. Walk your hands back in if they were extended, and we'll come into deer pose on the other side. This time our right shin is the one that's going to be parallel to the front edge of the mat, while our left leg comes out, left thigh 90-degree angle out from the hip, and the left shin parallel to the long edge of that left side of the mat. From here, create a long straight spine, and you can start to walk your hands back to create a bit more of a stretch, especially into that left hip. Walk your hands back in if you are reclined. Move into cow face pose on the other side. Bend all the way through that right leg. Bring your left leg up and help guide it over to stack your knees one on top of the other on this side. Once you find your version of this pose that's comfortable for you, sit up tall, maybe stay here, or you can start to explore walking your hands forward. and finding a bit of a deeper stretch through that hip. One more breath here. Begin to walk your hands in if they were extended. Bring the soles of both feet to the mat, about hip width distance out in front of you. Arms back behind you. We'll come up into a quick reverse tabletop before we move into some other leg stretches. So on your next inhale, push through your feet. Start to lift your hips up to the sky. Hold here for just a moment. And set your hips back down. Extend your left leg all the way out in front of you. Sole of the right foot comes to the inner edge of the left thigh. Left hand comes to your right knee and lift your right hand up. And then over, extending that right hand toward the extended left leg. Lovely side body stretch here, one of my favorites. And release. Square your torso toward your extended left leg. Sit up tall and begin to walk your hands out to maybe your shin, your ankle, or your foot, and just fold. Be sure to keep your shoulders square in this pose. Great. Go ahead and walk your hands back in. Let's move to the other side. Extend your right leg out long in front of you. Sole of the left foot comes to the inner edge of the right thigh. Right hand to your left knee. Left hand lifts and reach it up and over toward that extended right leg. Great. Now square your torso over your extended right leg. Sit up tall and begin to walk your hands out to your shin, your ankle, or maybe your foot, and fold. Again, notice if one shoulder is higher than the other, and try to keep them even. Awesome. Begin to walk your hands back in. Soles of both feet come back to the mat. And this time we're going to lower all the way down. Nice and slow. Vertebrae by vertebrae. Once you arrive, keep the sole of the left foot on the mat and cross your right ankle on top of your left thigh, just like the seated pigeon we did at the beginning of class. We're going to do a laying version of that now. So once you're here, you can stay here if this is enough of a stretch to the hip. Otherwise, you can start to bring your left leg in towards you, clasping your hands behind your thigh or in front of your left shin. Keep active through your right foot to protect your knee, and breathe into your right hip. Go ahead and cross your right leg all the way over your left. Scoot your hips a bit to the right and just drop both knees over to the left. Extend your arms out to the sides and maybe look over your right shoulder. Come back to center. Move into pigeon on the other side. This time crossing your left foot, your left ankle, over your right knee. Stay here if this is enough of a stretch for you. Or you can start to bring your right leg in towards you, clasping behind the thigh or in front of the shin, and remaining active through your left foot. Breathe here, relaxing the jaw, relaxing the forehead. Go ahead and release and cross your left leg all the way over the right. Scoot your hips a bit to the left and drop your knees all the way over to the right, extending the arms out wide and maybe looking over your left shoulder. Great, come back to center. And from here, you can move into traditional Shavasana, extending the legs out long, or an option to put a block under your hips and lift your legs up to the sky for legs up the wall, which can be really a nice pose, especially if your legs are sore. If you're dealing with a minor injury in the leg, this will just help bring some fresh blood flow to the legs. Once we're done, you can either do this up against a wall or with the block variation under the hips on your mat. Just give yourself a moment here to breathe and to thank your body for everything that it's done for you today. Sometimes when I'm in this pose, I like to give myself a little leg massage, the thighs. Just take these next few moments in quiet stillness. This is where I'll leave you today, yogis. As always, feel free to stay here for as long as your day allows. When you do come out slowly and mindfully and with gratitude for you and your body. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.